stream, I should say. We've been live for a couple of minutes on the main stream, though, but Shorts people and Twitch people I will quickly add onto the streamness. Yeah, it's a bit chaos behind the scenes, trying to do the pre-race warm-up on Crash Happy and shuffle over to the race here, because it makes sense for me to host both, but it does mean I have to be on 2 channels at once. And it was a few YouTube tutorials later, but we're there. How are we all doing on the main not applicable channel? If you did join us from the Crash Happy channel, thank you so much. If you weren't on the Crash Happy channel, just to let you know, as you've just seen the sort of 5-10 minutes of, we do have a pre-race warm-up over on the Crash Happy channel before every single Grand Prix. It goes live 2 hours before the start of the Grand Prix. And I was going to say we talk about what we kind of build up to the race, and we talk about everything that you need to know going into the Grand Prix. We do, but there's also lots of tangents in various different directions. We play a few games at the end as well. We do a few tenables and a few quiz bits and pieces too. So it is a really, really fun. Like, now they've gone, I can say it, but Crash Happy is by far and away one of my favorite things that I now do. Like, I look forward to a Monday night. Has anyone ever looked forward to a Monday night? I don't think so. But Monday nights when we record the podcast, it is so fun. Oh, Mr. Pulse has joined the chat. Thought Mr. V had ended it. It's okay, Mr. Pulse. It's fine. We know that you're just a reckless man. You can't be tamed. You disappeared. Right, let's quickly get the track map and bits and pieces up in front of us. But yeah, if you haven't joined Crash Happy already, there is a link to it in the description. Head over to the Crash Happy channel. Make sure you're subscribed over there. Get involved. It is the most fun thing. And we're lovely and positive. Like, we're getting a lot of praise recently just about being positive about Formula One, which I'm not sure we should really get praise for, but I'll absolutely take it. Hey, Sally. Sally's in the chat. Lovely to see you. Sarah's in here too. How is everybody? Seeing some chats. I have to swap chats as well between Crash Happy and this one. Watch it on TV. Stream was peak cinema. I feel like we'll eventually kind of flesh out the Crash Happy streams a little bit more with a few more graphics and bits and pieces. But I mean, for now, it just does the job, right? Like, we wanted to do it. It was sort of I was going to say last minute. It wasn't particularly last minute in terms of when we thought of the idea, but certainly just kind of adding it into everything else that all of us do. It's takes a little while to get these things kind of off the ground. But Crash Happy's just great. If you go from that stream to this one, people might think Crash Happy is an F1 stream. It is an F1 stream. We did talk about F1. We had the Grand Prix. Oh, actually, I can put it up. We had the qualifying at the bottom of the screen, so you could see who was where. We talked about how Bahrain and Saudi Arabia have now been cancelled, and what we would do instead. It was very, very fun. Lando not starting from the pit lane? No, I don't know where that news came from. I think it was just a bit of a weird thing that kind of came up. We'll run down the grid and we'll talk about where each driver is starting after sort of penalties and changes and bits and pieces that have happened. Let me just quickly get my stream up in front of me so I can actually see where we are at. We should be almost sort of national anthem time in terms of where we are at right now. There we go. So we do have the 2 Mercedes at the top. Kimi Antonelli, though, the youngest pole position sitter in Formula One history, snagged that record from Sebastian Vettel, who used to be at the top of that list. He starts from P1. I was going to say, like, I'm hopeful that Kimi Antonelli is going to be able to do something from there. Maybe even his first victory in Formula One. But the starts from Kimi Antonelli have been so miss and miss. I was going to say hit and miss, but I don't think there's been a hit yet. That I just struggle to see him living with the starts of the 2 Ferraris behind and George Russell to his side, to be honest with you. I can see all 3 of those guys kind of rushing past Kimi Antonelli at the start here. Doesn't mean to say that he's completely out of it, and certainly there will be strategy that comes into play here in China, and there'll be probably some safety cars and virtual safety cars that might play into it as well, because we'll likely see some cars come to a stop out on track. So it does not mean that Kimi Antonelli is out of it, and he could certainly turn his first pole position into a first win, but I don't think it's going to be straightforward in terms of turning that first pole position into a first win. George Russell starts beside him. Brilliant from George Russell yesterday in qualifying. Like, the pressure was incredibly high on George Russell. Only had one shot at really getting qualifying done in Q3 because of an issue that he had inside of the car. But that is just where George Russell is at in his Formula One career right now. He is sort of coming towards his peak. You know, we're talking about Max Verstappen possibly still being the best driver on the Formula One grid. I think George Russell is running him a fairly close second in terms of just quality of driver. I really, really loved what, you know, the development that we've seen from George Russell over the last couple of seasons. Just been so impressed with how he's kind of gone from coming into Mercedes, being very rough around the edges in terms of racing at the front. And, you know, had a few incidents here and there and sort of got himself a little bit of a reputation in those early couple of years at Mercedes. Now just looks like the most consistent driver out there, right? He's gotten rid of all of those little problems that he had, and now is just flourishing in the fact that he is so good at just delivering week after week and maintaining, that just consistency throughout. That just brilliant stuff from George Russell. Hamilton and Leclerc just behind. Ferrari starting on the second row of the grid. We know that they're good off the launch, though. We've seen in both race starts, the sprint and Australia, a Ferrari take the lead going down in towards the first corner, or at least into the first lap or so. What do I think hosting Crash Happy Watch-alongs and multi-streaming at your channel here? We'd have to talk to the lads. The problem is a couple of the guys over at Crash Happy are sort of Formula One purists. They like to watch the race without having to also do the sort of entertainment side of things. I would never say never. Never say never. But it's certainly something that we'd have to have a little chat about and see what happens here and there. But yeah, I'm expecting either Hamilton or Leclerc, or maybe even both, to be ahead of the Mercedes going down towards turn one if they can get their race starts right. We saw in Australia, though, they kind of messed up a little bit in terms of strategy. That virtual safety car pit stop would have saved them sort of 10 seconds or so. And that 10 seconds ended up being the sort of difference between Russell and Leclerc. So maybe this time around, have learned from that. I'd like them to see, not necessarily splitting the strategies, but I'd like to see the two Ferrari cars just working together a little bit more. So, you know, I know it's early in the season. I know that they probably want to get as many points on the board as possible, because later on down the line, we don't know if Ferrari are going to bring a big upgrade and then they'll be the fastest car, and suddenly it is a race between Hamilton and Leclerc for the championship. And we look back at, say, this weekend, and you see, Charles Leclerc let Lewis Hamilton pass so that he could fight with Russell, or so on and so forth, and things like that. And it could come back to bite them, don't get me wrong. But also, I do think it's their only way of winning Grand Prix at the moment, with George Russell being this quick, is working together and actually putting together a performance where they kind of double team, is the right word, maybe, George Russell. They kind of use the overtake button, almost a little bit like, you know, how they used to use, we saw Carlos Sainz use DRS to defend himself. He kind of kept Lando Norris in his DRS in Singapore when he won that Grand Prix at Ferrari. I think, you know, keeping Hamilton and Leclerc both within overtake mode of one another and kind of helping each other out with that extra half a megajoule of energy that you get every single lap. I feel like they kind of need to do that between the two of them. We then have the two McLaren cars, Piastri and Norris, side by side with one another. I'm a little bit nervous about it. For some reason, I've just got a feeling that something's going to go wrong between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I don't know what it is. I think something's going to go wrong between the two of them. Pierre Gasly started in 7th place, best of the rest so far. Outqualified both of the Red Bull cars as well. Like, an absolutely stunning performance from Pierre Gasly. And we mentioned this on the Crash Happy sort of warm-up. The fact that Pierre Gasly's qualifying maybe goes a little bit underrated. Just because I think he hasn't always been able to turn it into race pace, but also he's never really had a car that's been right up there. He went from AlphaTauri to Alpine. Neither of them are, top midfield cars a lot of the time. I suppose the AlphaTauri when he left was probably one of the better midfield cars, but not sort of knocking on the door of the top teams either. So it is tough for Pierre Gasly. He is doing the best that he possibly can in a midfield car a lot of the time. And, his qualifying is just brilliant from that. Max Verstappen starts in 8th place, still not happy with that Red Bull car. Neither's Isaac Hadjar, to be honest with you, though. But I think they will probably be able to battle with the two McLarens in front, if I'm honest. I think they'll be able to close that gap a tiny little bit to Piastri and Norris ahead. But we'll have to kind of wait and see what Verstappen can do. Can he get past Gasly? Will he have another bad start? Is the other thing. The Red Bull's just not the most comfortable car to be in right now. And then Ollie Behrman rounding out the point scoring position so far. 6 drivers have scored points in both the Australian Grand Prix and the Chinese Sprint. Ollie Behrman is one of those 6. So Ollie Behrman having an absolutely stunning start to the season. And to be fair, a brilliant end to the 2025 season. He's just kind of carried it through into this season as well. And I'm really excited to see what Ollie Behrman can do. I think a battle between Behrman, if he can get up towards Gasly, a little bit of Hulkenberg behind as well. If Hulkenberg doesn't DNF, then it could be a nice little battle in the midfield for those final point scoring places. And the points are really, really needed for those midfield teams. Like, they are fighting for a 5th place in the championship, maybe even a 4th place if Red Bull does absolutely fall off a cliff, or I don't know, McLaren have an absolute nightmare in the second half of the season or something like that. They're fighting for really important points at this point in the year already. So Gasly, Behrman, Hulkenberg kind of in the mix there. Colapinto also starting just behind in 12th place. Be interesting to see what he can do from there, because there's a lot of pressure on Colapinto to perform. And, you look at where Gasly and Behrman are, and even Esteban Ocon behind in 13th place as well. Gasly and Behrman, I can heap praise on them constantly, to be honest. I think they've been absolutely brilliant. Colapinto and Ocon, not so much. Lawson and Lindblad then also behind that as well. Lawson starting 14th place. Had a brilliant drive in the sprint race from Lawson, so hoping for more of that. And also Lindblad hasn't been the best start to the weekend for him, and a really tough sprint race to kind of take, especially as a rookie. But he was absolutely scintillating in Australia, so hoping to see a little bit more of that side of Lindblad. Gabriel Bortoleto, it's kind of been a tough weekend for him as well after points in Australia. Hasn't quite been able to get that Audi car clicking in the way that he would have wanted to. And then that kind of back 6, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll, Sergio Perez, and Alex Albon starting from the pit lane, I think could be really tough for those 6 guys. I think it's going to be a long afternoon. I could see Aston Martin kind of just using this as another practice race, almost like they did in Australia, where they kind of drop cars back and then jump cars forwards and put cars back into random places. Oh, Lando Norris's car is in the pit lane. It wasn't false news. It wasn't false news. It felt like false news. It felt like a weird thing to just pop up. But yeah, Lando Norris is starting from the pit lane because his car's not out on track and will not be there for the live procedure. Oh, so Lando Norris then drops out of P6. That promotes Hulkenberg up into the points and Gasly up into the top 6 going into this. Very nice indeed if you're a Gasly fan like myself. Final thing then, we did ask for your predictions because we've got 6 minutes before the start of the Grand Prix. Goodness gracious. Super quick. We got 6 minutes. Your predictions before the start of the Grand Prix. Had to get them in before qualifying, though. I allowed a little bit. There was a few people that got them in after the sprint race. I thought, well, it's maybe a little bit cheeky. But we do predictions every single week. Keep your eye on the post. Keep your eye on the posts tab on the channel. Because we do put lots and lots of things for you to get involved in, whether it's quizzes, whether it's polls, whether it is predictions. There's loads of stuff always being posted up there. So do always kind of check that out when you are subscribing to the channel and watching the videos and all that good stuff that all of you guys do. In terms of your predictions, bang, you had George Russell in the winning seat. This was before Kimi Antonelli got pole position, but still, you had George Russell winning the Grand Prix with the 2 Ferrari cars just behind. More people, just slightly, had Leclerc in second place, and then Lewis Hamilton in third. So that is your predictions in terms of the Grand Prix. Again, if you've got different predictions, let me know in the chat whilst we're here. But this was the predictions of the community as a whole. You then had the surprise package just being Lewis Hamilton. I don't know how much of a surprise it would be. I suppose a surprise for Lewis Hamilton would maybe be a win. I suppose even if he did get on the podium, it'd be his first podium for Ferrari. So maybe a little bit of a surprise there in the fact that he hasn't got one already. But no, you guys are expecting the good surprise to come from Lewis Hamilton's side of the Ferrari garage. You're expecting the best team this weekend to be Mercedes. I think that might be fairly consistent over the first few races of the Formula One season, where Mercedes slot into that best team slot. And then the driver and team you think are going to struggle the most are Fernando Alonso and his team Aston Martin. So you are expecting that is not going to go well for the 2-time world champion. And I think that's fair, considering the Aston Martin car still looks an absolute stratosphere away from being anywhere close to what we were expecting coming into this season. I think it's that expectation versus reality thing again, isn't it? Where it's like we were expecting Aston Martin to be at least the best of the rest, and they're absolutely nowhere close. And they don't look like they're getting that much closer that quickly, to be honest, with the powertrain the way that it is. We are there, though. Oh, in terms of compounds and bits and pieces, the drivers have got C2, C3, and C4 tyres available to them. The C2 hard compound tyre, C3 medium. I'm hoping for a couple of 2-stop strategies here. We saw the graining on the Ferrari tyres during the sprint, and they did not look in the best condition. The Shanghai circuit is pretty tough on tyres, so I could see a 2-stop strategy kind of coming into the foire here, and possibly even... I don't want to see... I was going to say possibly even 1 stops, but they'd have to go long and be careful. I think that's fine. I don't want the 1 stop to be the kind of better strategy, though. I'd love the 2-stop to be the better strategy. A few safety cars maybe to kind of give some people an opportunity to pit under safety car and some others not. Maybe a virtual safety car is a better choice there. Actually, I'd love a safety car because I think, squishing the pack back together again would be very fun. But we'll have to wait and see. Oh, both McLarens are in the garage. Both McLarens are in the garage at the moment. Oh my God. I said I had a bad feeling about this weekend. Ah! No. I said I had it. I said I had a bad feeling. Why did I say it? Why did I say that? Oh, God. Flop team is McLaren. Yeah, certainly it looks like it at the minute. Flop team McLaren. Oh, dear. So that means, actually, Pierre Gasly is starting from effectively P5 on the grid and actually has some room to run into because there is no cars in front of him. Oh, McLaren. What have we done? I jinxed them. I really did. Oh, sorry, I've gotten rid of them. I really did. I really did jinx them. I just absolutely should not be trusted. I mean, we're running out of cars at this point. Alex Albon starting from the pit lane. Gabriel Bortoleto starting from the pit lane. I knew about those two. But the 2 McLarens as well. There's 2 red lights still illuminated at the front of the grid, but it's about to be formation lap any moment now. Let's swap over to the full race board for you. Oh, I can't. I'm just so upset now. I'm just too upset. I'd like to go home. I mean, I am home. Ah, dear. Okay. Right, let's get behind Gasly. Let's get behind Gasly, shall we? I've got a little Gasly helmet in the background. I'm not just jumping on him because he's doing quite well. I do actually really like Pierre Gasly. I think I've always supported him. I've got a little Gasly helmet. I've got a Gasly hat. I'm not just jumping on it because he's P5 now. But let's get on the Gasly hype train then. If we can't support the McLaren team, let's support Pierre Gasly. And let's hope that, Gasly podium? I mean, it would be absolutely ridiculous considering the gap between the Mercedes and the Ferrari cars. But all we need is Antonelli to wipe out a Hamilton and Leclerc, or vice versa. And suddenly we've got a Pierre Gasly podium possibility. Two Red Bulls starting on the soft compound tyre, by the way, as well. We're now getting the tyres through. It's medium compound tyres for the front four, as you would expect. Medium tyres for Pierre Gasly as well. Soft compound tyres for Verstappen and Hadjar. They're slightly scrubbed as well. They'd have done 3 laps in qualifying. Ollie Behrman starting on the medium compound tyre. Nico Hulkenberg, Colapinto and Ocon starting on the hard compound tyre. And then we have a medium compound tyre for Lawson, hard compound tyre for Lindblad, and Sainz on the medium tyre, Alonso on the hard, Stroll on the hard, Bottas on the medium, Perez on the medium tyre. So very interesting choice, mainly from Verstappen and Hadjar there, because they are right in the mix. Oscar Piastri literally won the Grand Prix here in China last year and is sitting in the garage right now. Ugh. Pierre Gasoline. Love that. Oh. And now my Now TV has decided to kick me off. There we go. Seeing Kimi Antonelli coming around the final corner. We're there. We are there. Let me quickly just do this. Might freeze the map for a second, but it will come back momentarily. Okay. Wait, why is Antonelli going around the... Oh, is it doing a formation lap still? Oh, everything's broken. I don't know what's going on with the track map. It is all over the place. Apologies. I'll try and get it sorted, but it is not an issue my side. It is an issue multi-viewer's side. So you're just going to have to listen carefully as I reset it. 56 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix. The pre-start procedure starts. And here we are then, 5 red lights. And the Chinese Grand Prix is going to get underway. Kimi Antonelli, an actual decent start from him. He's side by side with Lewis Hamilton, though, and Hamilton with the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc to battle with as well. And Leclerc and Hamilton are going to go around the outside of Kimi Antonelli. And Antonelli has got nothing. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of this race. And Charles Leclerc is also going to have the inside line going down towards turn 3. Antonelli trying his best to wrap it around the outside and does keep himself ahead of Charles Leclerc. So it is Hamilton from Antonelli. Leclerc in third spot and George Russell down in fourth. Pierre Gasly now defending himself from Behrman, as Behrman has made an absolutely brilliant start. Arvid Lindblad has gone too deep in towards turn 6. And Isaac Hadjar is also having a little battle of himself as well. So it's Hamilton, Antonelli, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, our top 5. Behrman is into 6th place. Hadjar's up into 7th. It's another nightmare start for Max Verstappen. He's dropped down to 14th place. Lindblad and Lawson in the Racing Bulls, absolutely electric off the start line. They're up into the points. And it is all over the place right now. Hadjar now having a little battle with Ollie Behrman. Behrman coming back at him. Hadjar up the inside. Oh, and Hadjar spins. Hadjar loses it. Behrman has to go wide to avoid. And Hadjar loses control of the car as he was making his way around turn 13. And Hadjar is going to fall all the way to the back of the pack, surely. He's got himself back out onto the track, though, as we now see Gasly fighting with Lindblad and Lawson. They're 3 abreast going into turn 14. Oh my goodness me, Gasly comes out on top for now. Colapinto's also up into 6th place. Hamilton, Antonelli, Leclerc, our top 3. George Russell in 4th. Gasly and Colapinto now looking at a 5th and 6th place for Alpine. Lawson and Lindblad are in 7th and 8th. Ocon up into 9th. Absolute disaster for Behrman. Obviously, nearly got wiped out by Isaac Hadjar there. Hadjar's all the way down to the back of the pack behind the Cadillacs. And Carlos Sainz out of nowhere is up into the top 10. Oh, that little bit of bodywork that possibly came off a Ferrari car and was flicked up towards Kimi Antonelli. Quite possibly so, you know. Lewis Hamilton still now leading this race from Kimi Antonelli. And Hamilton keeping his eyes peeled, though. Kimi Antonelli right within overtake mode zone. So is Charles Leclerc, though, so has to keep an eye on his wing mirrors. And we've got a front 4 battle here between the 2 Ferraris and the 2 Mercedes for the ages. This is going to be very tight between these 4 throughout the start of this Grand Prix. Antonelli having a look at Hamilton down towards turn 14, sorry, comes to the right-hand side of the track, makes the move stick, and gets past Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton back down into 2nd place as Oscar Piastri is now out of the car in the garage, and the McLarens have had enough. Both Piastri and Lando Norris are out of this Grand Prix for definite then, as Bortoleto and Albon also haven't started. Hamilton now trying to get back at Antonelli as George Russell makes a sweeping move past Charles Leclerc. And Russell now leads from Leclerc. Antonelli leads this Grand Prix then. Hamilton in 2nd place. Russell then behind in 3rd. Charles Leclerc now down in 4th spot. Gasly and Colapinto holding on to 5th and 6th still. Lawson in 7th. Ocon is now up into 8th place. Lindblad down to 9th. And Verstappen has made his way back up into 10th place on those soft compound tyres. Carlos Sainz has dropped down to 11th. Behrman is in 12th place. Alonso's 13th. Bottas, Hülkenberg, Stroll, Perez and Hadjar still running around out there. Is Piastri, Norris, Bortoleto and Albon the drivers that are out of the Grand Prix. Hamilton trying to catch up to Antonelli, but also under pressure from George Russell. Is within a second of Kimi Antonelli, so does get that extra overtaking boost compared to Kimi Antonelli. But Antonelli and Hamilton both using their battery to the maximum as they make their way down the back straight towards turn 14. And Antonelli has been able to escape away from Lewis Hamilton a touch here. And I know I talked at the beginning about how Kimi Antonelli was maybe unlikely to win this Grand Prix. He's absolutely nailed the start and is properly in the mix. And leading here is Kimi Antonelli. And 0.8 of a second clear of Lewis Hamilton as they come around and go past the overtake detection point, as George Russell now uses his boost mode to get past Lewis Hamilton. George Russell up into 2nd space. And the car absolutely flying for George Russell right now as well. It does look like the Mercedes cars have found an extra couple of tenths or two to play with. And now are absolutely blitzing by the two Ferrari cars. Hamilton and Leclerc then slot into 3rd and 4th place for now. Gasly and Colapinto still 5th and 6th. Gasly is actually holding his own here. He's not too far adrift of the front 4. Colapinto's kind of fallen off the back of his teammate a touch more so. Colapinto now 3.5 seconds adrift of Pierre Gasly. And then Lawson is trying to get himself within a second of Colapinto. Ocon is 0.6 seconds adrift of Liam Lawson. Lindblad up into 9th place. And Max Verstappen now fighting with the RB driver once again. We saw a little back and forth between Verstappen and Lindblad in Australia. Are we about to see the same as Max Verstappen follows the rookie down the back straight towards turn 14? Antonelli makes his way around, and Antonelli is going to start another lap in the lead of this Grand Prix. And George Russell, a little lock up there from the Mercedes driver. It's allowed Hamilton maybe to just close in within that overtake mode range. He is within overtake mode range as Lewis Hamilton. He's 0.7 of a second adrift of George Russell as they come through the overtake detection point. So he's going to get an additional 0.5 megajoules of energy to deploy over the next lap. Charles Leclerc also within a second of his teammate in front. Gasly then 3 seconds adrift. Colapinto then another 3 seconds after that. Here comes Max Verstappen on Arvid Lindblad, and Lindblad keeps himself in front for now. We're again seeing that Arvid Lindblad is not just going to roll over and let Max Verstappen through. Kimi Antonelli, a good little start. Came across to actually try and cover off George Russell, did Kimi Antonelli. Allowed the two Ferraris around the outside. Hamilton and Leclerc, absolutely blistering pace from them off the start line once again. Does just feel like that Ferrari's launch is something different this season. But they weren't quite able to hold on to it, and the race pace advantage of the two Mercedes cars coming into it. It's not over yet, though. We are very, very far away from the end of this Grand Prix. Still 52 laps left to run. And Charles Leclerc just had to get out of it. Was a little bit worried about crashing into Antonelli. That then sent him too close to the curb in turn 3, and that's where Kimi Antonelli was able to keep himself in front of Charles Leclerc. And Max Verstappen, another absolutely horrendous start from him. Just seeing a replay of the moment. And he just fell down the pack. Just could not get that Red Bull car going. Isaac Hadjar is running around in 18th place now. Let's see what kind of pace he has got. Because the Red Bull team having to make a swap has come in and swapped from those soft compound tyres for a set of hards. Oof. Then Ollie Behrman trying to overtake, and then, oh my goodness me, the evasive maneuvers from Ollie Behrman there. Very, very quick reactions from the Haas driver. As we now see Max Verstappen losing it at turn 1. He tried to go for an overtake at Arvid Lindblad and just completely kept going straight. Max Verstappen is struggling with this Red Bull car. Maybe the soft compound tyre is not the choice, but also the Red Bull car just looks incredibly difficult to drive. We saw Hadjar go for a spin. We're now seeing Max Verstappen also disappearing off the racetrack. Antonelli and Russell still lead. Hamilton and Leclerc have just given themselves a little bit of space behind. It's kind of 1.3 second gaps between all of those drivers. 1.3 to Russell, 1.3 to Hamilton, and then 1.3 to Leclerc in the top 4. Pierre Gasly holding on to that best of the rest spot and inheriting 5th, thanks to the two McLaren cars being out of this one. Gasly and Colapinto looking like a double point scoring finish for Alpine could be on the cards. And Esteban Ocon also up into the point scoring places in 7th. Lawson trying to close into the back of the Haas car. Lindblad and Verstappen fighting in 9th and 10th place, and Behrman now joining that battle, trying to get himself back up into the point scoring positions. Max Verstappen just still looks so uncomfortable inside of that Red Bull. That can't be set up correctly, can it? Surely Max Verstappen isn't struggling that much. As Behrman then also closes to within a second of the Lindblad-Verstappen battle. Carlos Sainz running around with Nico Hülkenberg right under his rear wing in 12th and 13th place. And then it is Bottas, Alonso, Stroll, Perez, and Hadjar. Sort of a fair distance back now, Isaac Hadjar, after pitting. 18 seconds adrift of even Sergio Perez in the Cadillac car. Valtteri Bottas holding Fernando Alonso at bay, though. At the moment, there's been a couple of swapping positions there between Alonso and Bottas. And I'm not sure most people would have predicted 6 months ago that we'd be seeing Valtteri Bottas in a Cadillac and Fernando Alonso fighting with one another. Well, unless you thought that Cadillac were going to be absolutely brilliant, or you predicted the truth that Aston Martin are absolutely woeful at the start of this 2026 season. Kimi Antonelli coming around turn 1 and turn 2 now for you. George Russell still in second place, has just set fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Oh, sorry, it was a lap ago. 137 dead from George Russell. A 137.6, the best lap from a Ferrari, and a 137.8, the best lap from Leclerc. Leclerc is now actually within overtake mode of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has fallen back to 2.3 seconds adrift. And Max Verstappen already saying that those soft compound tyres are absolutely dead. And actually, you can see the graining on the front left of Max Verstappen's Red Bull car. The graining on that front left tyre looks absolutely horrendous already. We're only 8 laps into the Grand Prix. It's going to have to eke them out a little bit longer, though. Swap onto the hard compound tyre. Won't have a lot of pace if he's going to have to hold on to them for 50 plus laps, or 49 laps, I guess now. What happened to McLaren? I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. They didn't make it out onto the grid. Neither McLaren car was out of the garage when we joined the live stream, and they never made it out of the garage. As Lawson and Lindblad go side by side, and they went for a little move, did Arvid Lindblad, but wasn't able to quite make it stick. A little bit of a lock-up from the rookie, and Liam Lawson eventually taking that position back, but Arvid Lindblad is not letting Liam Lawson have that 8th place for free. I mean, it's an interesting one because they're obviously on slightly different tyre setups. The hard compound tyre on Lindblad's car behind. So it would make sense for the team to let Lindblad pass because he's going to go longer on those tyres and have a little bit sort of more clean air to keep those tyres in slightly better condition. And Lawson on the radio saying that he's going to lose time because he's battling with Lindblad too much. Have the RB team got on the radio to Lindblad and said, maybe going down the inside, down towards turn 14 is a little bit exaggerative. And the thing is, like, Lindblad was alongside. It was an absolutely fine move into turn 14 up until the point where Lindblad then locked up, went way too deep into turn 14, and Lawson had to scoop around the inside to make sure there was no contact between the two Racing Bulls cars and also maintain his position in 8th place. Ollie Behrman trying to gain on Max Verstappen in the background, though, and Ollie Behrman making a move on Max Verstappen, and this could be Verstappen dropping out of the point-scoring places, as Lindblad and Lawson also have a little tete-a-tete in front. We've got a quartet of cars trying to go through turn 14, and Lawson is being told to box. So Lawson and Verstappen both into the pits then, which does release Lindblad and Behrman. Hülkenberg up into the point-scoring places now as well, was sort of waiting in the wings just in case something happens between these cars. But Sainz is into the pits too. So Lawson, Verstappen, and Sainz all pit on lap 10 of this Chinese Grand Prix. Can understand it from Verstappen. He was on the soft compound tyre. But medium compound tyre for Liam Lawson already going off by the looks of things. And Lawson maybe opting for some clean air. The Racing Bulls team bringing him in. Oh, as there is a Lance Stroll who has gone very deep into turn 1. Is that? It is. Or turn 2. And could be out of this race. He has come to a halt at turn 1. There's now some yellow flags being waved. This wouldn't surprise me if there's a virtual safety car to come here. A full safety car. A full safety car. Wow. Okay. Now, do we see the drivers pit? It's a little bit early. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix. It's a tiny little bit early. But George Russell being told to box. So Antonelli in, Russell in by the looks of things as well. Hamilton and Leclerc trying to make a little gap so that they can maybe double stack. Coming in. Pierre Gasly into the pits. Thought he was going to continue on that. I think everybody's going to come in, aren't they? I thought it would be right. It's right on the sort of... right on the precipice of when you'd want to come in versus when you might not. Leclerc's going to lose a little bit of time just because he's in after Hamilton. They had to double stack. I think Leclerc has actually come out behind. Oh, Colapinto and Ocon continued. That's why I was like, how on earth have Colapinto and Ocon got up there? They did not pit. Did Franco Colapinto and Esteban Ocon jumping up into second and third place. I suppose they're on the hard compound tyre. Lindblad has stayed out as well because he's on the hard compound tyre. Hulkenberg the same. So Antonelli stopped, Russell stopped, Hamilton stopped, Leclerc stopped, Gasly stopped. Behrman is currently in the pits. Bottas is in the pits as well. Lawson, Verstappen, Sainz, Hadjar had already stopped. So it's just those hard compound tyre runners continuing on and maybe hoping for another safety car later. You do gain quite an advantage pitting under the safety car like this. But we are going to see a safety car restart here with a little bit of a mixed grid and some very mixed tyres. We've got hard compound tyres that have already done 10 laps. We've got hard compound tyres that are completely and utterly fresh on some of the faster runners out on track as well. As Hadjar, I think, comes in for a second time in this Grand Prix. It really is not the start of the season Hadjar was looking for. After qualifying in P3 in Australia, it's kind of been bad news from there from Isaac Hadjar. Second pit stop, and it's a slow pit stop. The front left tyre just would not come off of that Red Bull car. And the pit team not very happy with it. Kimi Antonelli absolutely flying right now. Looks brilliant for him at the moment. Leading the race still. He's now got a little gap with Colapinto and Ocon to separate himself from his teammate. And now we're also looking at the possibility of a safety car restart where Hamilton and Russell are fighting with one another, and it just gives Antonelli even more time to just disappear up the road. Safety car still coming around. The tractor is out on track, and they're currently just positioning that crane to pick up Lance Stroll's car. So Lance Stroll is going to be the 5th casualty of this Chinese Grand Prix, although Piastri, Norris, Bortoletto and Albon didn't get to do any laps at all. They retired before the Grand Prix even started. Sergio Perez deciding to pit now for some reason. A little bit late. Maybe he was already past the pit entry when the safety car came out. Cadillac team, the first time that they've... Ooh, it wasn't the smoothest of pit stops. A 5.5 second stop for Sergio Perez, but it is their first season in the sport. They're still practicing. They're going to need a little bit of time to get used to it all. Ocon third, I know. I know. Verstappen driving a lawnmower. I mean, yeah, that Red Bull just looks absolutely all over the place. And Verstappen is now trapped behind Liam Lawson as well, by the way. Was stuck behind Lindblad, but Lindblad actually was catching up to Lawson ahead. Now Verstappen's got to fight with Lawson. Like, Verstappen just doesn't want to be fighting with Racing Bulls cars, does he? It's not a good look. It's not a good look when your main team is also fighting with your second team for position. But RB just look really good. Lawson and Lindblad got brilliant starts. Verstappen got an absolutely horrendous one that kind of met in the middle, haven't they? With Lawson now running P12, Verstappen P13. Gasly still best of the rest in terms of those cars that have pitted. Behrman, though, now just behind him. So we are going to see a little bit of a Gasly-Behrman battle, which is something I was hoping to see. Gasly's got the experience, but Behrman, just that raw talent. Just a lovely little battle for the best of the rest in the midfield between Gasly and Behrman coming up. Alonso hasn't stopped yet. That's why he's up in 11th place. So Lawson's going to have to deal with a very slow-moving Aston Martin in front of him at some point. Isaac Hadjar's been given a lifeline here, though. Been able to stop and will hopefully be able to catch the back of this pack. So we'll see what Isaac Hadjar can do. But to be fair to Hadjar, Max Verstappen is only 3 cars in front. So once Hadjar gets in front of Perez, Bottas, and Sainz, he's going to be back behind his teammate anyway. So it's not looking good if you're a Red Bull fan. Join me. It's not looking good if you're a McLaren fan. We've got no cars in the race. Red Bull fans now also have depression. We'll gather all together. Remember last season when we were winning races? Oh, wasn't that lovely? When Max Verstappen and Lando Norris were fighting for the championship. Let's reminisce. Now, the safety car is coming in this lap. The safety car is ending. So we will have Kimi Antonelli taking the lead over this Grand Prix and letting the safety car disappear away from him so that the safety car can come into the pits and we can get back racing once again. Safety car ending. Gasly actually getting very close to the back of Nico Hülkenberg. Having a little look at the Audi car. Colapinto getting fairly close to Antonelli as well. Both of the Alpines having a lovely little time out there today. As we see Lando Norris, the current world champion, by the way, not taking part in the Grand Prix. That's where we're at with the McLaren team right now. Not the start of the season they would have wished for. Antonelli now lets the safety car disappear into the distance. Closes the pack behind him. Esteban Ocon up in 3rd place. Ocon's got experience of this, though. He's been in the podium positions before. A few podiums for Esteban Ocon at Alpine. Can he do it in a Haas car is the next question. He has got Russell, Hamilton and Leclerc on fresh tyres behind him. And Arvid Lindblad in that mix too. It's going to be a tough little run for Esteban Ocon. But let's see what he can do as Antonelli closes up the pack and then launches himself through the final corner and gets us back underway at the Chinese Grand Prix with 43 laps left to run. And Ocon is right underneath the rear wing of Franco Colapinto. Colapinto is going to have to defend. Does come over to defend. And Ocon can't get past Colapinto for now. Russell and Hamilton having a little fight with one another. Russell being pushed wide through turn 1. Lindblad still in front of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc, though, trying to sweep up the inside as he goes through turn 4. And Charles Leclerc now trying to make his way past Lindblad. It's going to be a tough one, though, as Ocon tries to go past Colapinto again. Down towards turn 6. Colapinto manages to stay ahead for now. Hamilton and Russell going side by side. And Hamilton has moved himself in front of George Russell. Russell just put off maybe a little bit by Ocon and Colapinto's battle in front. Both of them looking a little bit unstable. Hamilton now right under the rear wing of Esteban Ocon's also Ferrari-powered car. Same power unit in those two cars, but very different tyres on them at this point in the Grand Prix. Hamilton has pitted. Ocon has not. Lindblad in 6th place. Leclerc still in 7th place. Talking of Ferraris, Hülkenberg has done great to keep Behrman and Gasly behind. Gasly's actually dropped a position as Behrman has jumped up in front of Pierre. And we're seeing another little battle here. Lewis Hamilton now putting Esteban Ocon under pressure. They go down the back straight, side by side, wheel to wheel. And Ocon has to concede as Lewis Hamilton uses the superior cornering power of his Ferrari car to get him back up into the podium places. Hamilton looking in the Italian car at the Italian driver, who is now just 2 positions ahead of him. And between him and another win at the Chinese Grand Prix circuit. Charles Leclerc in the background is making a move on George Russell. And Russell really struggling on these hard compound tyres since the restart. Lost position to Hamilton, now also lost position to Charles Leclerc. George Russell's down in 6th place now. And Charles Leclerc is ahead of him. What's happened to George Russell's Mercedes car? The twists and turns of that safety car have suddenly reimagined what could happen at the front of this Grand Prix. Colapinto under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton holding on to the back of the Alpine car as they make their way through the middle sector. He's 0.2 of a second, and Hamilton's going to make a move early. I thought he might leave it until they got to the straight. Hamilton at turn 9 has gone up the inside. And George Russell really struggling on these tyres, says he's got no grip on the radio. The hard compound tyre just not clicking with his Mercedes car. Lewis Hamilton now up into 2nd place. And if Kimi Antonelli is having similar problems to George Russell, we could see Lewis Hamilton close in on the lead here. Hamilton's going to have the slipstream all the way down this back straight. Has got the bonus overtake boost as well because he was within a second of Franco Colapinto last time around. And I think he's going to get himself to within a second of Kimi Antonelli here as well, as Charles Leclerc has a little look at Esteban Ocon, and Leclerc's up into 4th place. The Ferraris are flying here in China. George Russell in 6th spot now has to deal with Esteban Ocon. Hülkenberg trying to hold his own as Behrman and Gasly are bearing down on him. Behrman's managed to move past the Audi car, and Hülkenberg down into P9. Gasly trying to get back up into those top positions that he was in. Remember, we do still have Colapinto and Ocon that are yet to pit inside of this top 10, as well as Arvid Lindblad and Nico Hülkenberg also has not pitted. Charles Leclerc is trying to make a move on Franco Colapinto, and Colapinto has to yield, otherwise he would have been put into the gravel. So we now have Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc, our top 3. Leclerc 2.5 seconds adrift of his teammate, but I'll tell you what, Lewis Hamilton is within that second. And geez Louise, it is all happening here. George Russell up into 5th spot has made a move on Esteban Ocon. Is now looking at the back of Franco Colapinto. And Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc will be hoping to escape away from George Russell's Mercedes car before he can get past the Alpine. Hamilton, though, closing into the back of Kimi Antonelli. What kind of pace has Hamilton got over these next couple of laps? Can he close in to the Italian driver, or has the Mercedes car had just enough time to get those tyres up to temperature and now will be running where we expect it to be in terms of race pace? Antonelli, straight mode active for both cars, of course, but that extra overtake boost for Lewis Hamilton as Ollie Behrman makes a move on Arvid Lindblad, and Lindblad has to concede as Ollie Behrman now moves him up into 7th place. Colapinto and Ocon struggling in front as George Russell now up into 4th. Lindblad on the tyres that are a little bit older. He's in 8th spot now, and Hülkenberg down in 10th too. Kimi Antonelli rebuttals, sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as Lewis Hamilton starts to close into the back of the youngster. The youngest pole position sitter in Formula One history, Kimi Antonelli, got that record yesterday here at the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Can he also turn it into his first victory in Formula One? Lewis Hamilton going for his 7th win of the Chinese Grand Prix, has absolutely dominated here in the past. And Hamilton closing in on Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc there, the Italian driver leading, the Italian team chasing. Leclerc in 3rd place. George Russell now down in 4th place in his Mercedes car. Colapinto and Ocon trying to keep Behrman at bay. Surely Ocon is getting the radio calls now from the Haas team to move out of the way of Oliver Bearman, who is absolutely flying in that Haas car once again and looking like he's going to maintain his perfect record of the season so far. Ollie Bearman has scored points in every competitive session that we have had so far this year, one of only 6 drivers to do so, and the only midfield driver to go back-to-back. Can he go back-to-back-to-back in terms of 3-point scoring opportunities, 3 points secured? Gasly then in 8th place is trying to keep Bearman within touch and distance. Lindblad is now in front of Max Verstappen again. We've got yellow flags being waved. There's a track hazard as George Russell now sets the fastest lap of the race, and Max Verstappen goes for a move on Lindblad, and Verstappen up into 9th place as on the fresher tyres. There is a yellow flag being waved down the back straight towards turn 14. I think there's a little bit of debris possibly that has come off of one of these cars. And hopefully the marshals are sprinting out there right now as Kimi Antonelli is still making his way through the middle sector. They have indeed, and that yellow flag no longer being waved. Antonelli is doing a brilliant job here at keeping Lewis Hamilton just at arm's length. He is within the second, so does get the boost. But Hamilton on the radio asking for more power, and the Ferrari team saying that they are on it. Oh my goodness me. Esteban Ocon and Franco Colapinto then coming around turn 13 together. I was going to say that Ocon probably is getting some radio messages to let Bearman past, but actually he's trying to make a move of his own as he goes side by side with Franco Colapinto down towards turn 14. Ocon goes to the outside. Bearman's also there as well. Oh, it's going to get a little bit messy. The 2 Alpines and the 2 Haas's all within close proximity of one another. It is Franco Colapinto, Esteban Ocon, Bearman and Gasly, though, in that order from 5th down to 8th. And it is some lovely racing between the Haas's and the Alpines. We've got the fresher, hard compound tyres on Bearman and Gasly behind, but Ocon and Colapinto going tail, oh my God, side by side with one another. And Colapinto and Ocon just about come out of the first few corners unscathed. Bearman and Gasly also closing into the back. Ocon's having a look, though, and trying to get past Colapinto, possibly down towards turn 6. And Bearman has closed in. And whilst they've been doing that, Pierre Gasly has been overtaken by Max Verstappen in this midfield madness that we are seeing. Colapinto and Ocon, because of the battle that they're having, it's just slowing down Bearman and Gasly behind as well and allowing Verstappen the opportunity to run at him. Gasly's been able to get that position back from the 4-time world champion, though. We've got a real cluster of cars from Colapinto down to Verstappen where all 5 of them are within touch and distance of one another. And we are looking at Colapinto coming around turn 13. We'll keep you updated on the top 4, but the real battle here is happening from 5th place back to 9th. Colapinto and Ocon. Bearman now side by side with his Haas teammate. There's been a lot of talk about these two. Colapinto slows down very early into the corner. Bearman has to get out of it. Ocon tries to go around the outside and it's absolute chaos. The 2 Haas's nearly touch. Bearman comes out the better of the 2 for now. Colapinto, though, still in 5th place. And Ocon is having another look back at his teammate. He's side by side with him. Pierre Gasly tries to get past and Ocon has to defend from Gasly. Oh my goodness me, it is all over the place. And Max Verstappen then tries to be opportunistic and get in front of Pierre Gasly and does. So Bearman is up a position, Verstappen is up a position. Colapinto is still 5th. It's then Bearman, Ocon, Verstappen, Gasly now, the order of that 5. Bearman and Ocon have switched. Verstappen and Gasly have switched positions. From last time around, they came through the middle sector. Bearman now surely is going to be able to get past Franco Colapinto. The much fresher tyres on Ollie Bearman's car. 10 laps more life left in his tyres. Colapinto under pressure. Oh, and there's been a little incident that's been noted by race control there. I've just seen pop up on my investigations tracker. It is Verstappen Gasly and Behrman are all now under investigation. Verstappen and Behrman also with track limits infringements. Here we are then, Colapinto coming around again. And we're looking at George Russell possibly trying to make a move on Charles Leclerc. Not this time around. Where's Behrman with Colapinto then? Behrman does go to the left-hand side of Colapinto. Colapinto can't live with the pace of Ollie Behrman. He's going to have to go around the outside. Tucks in, though, and does a little switch back through turn 14, Ollie Behrman. Colapinto's trying to come back at him. Colapinto's going to have the inside line for turn 16, and I think Colapinto has just been able to do it. Behrman trying to get the switchback done on him, but Behrman is now going to come at him down towards turn 1 as well. Colapinto's doing a brilliant job here of trying to defend from these cars that should be quicker and do have better tyres. Colapinto still goes into turn 2 ahead of Oliver Behrman. Behrman in 6th spot, Ocon still 7th. Verstappen is still ahead of Pierre Gasly in 8th place. Gasly's going to be frustrated now to drop to 9th, as Verstappen also trying to make a move on Esteban Ocon going towards turn 6, and Verstappen has been able to move up into 7th spot now. So Verstappen right in the middle of this pack. He's got an Alpine and a Haas in front of him, a Haas and an Alpine behind him, as Max Verstappen, as he's entered probably a battle he was hoping to avoid in this Grand Prix. Verstappen absolutely flying, though. Gasly and Ocon there too. It's not gonna be easy for any of these 5 cars, as Nico Hülkenberg is also joined in the back of this pack as well. Got a little battery pack from Colapinto back to sort of Arvid Lindblad, really. Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc and Russell still leading though. Russell's right underneath the rear wing of Charles Leclerc now as we cut back towards the top teams. Ollie Behrman making a move on Franco Colapinto down towards turn 14 again. Does have the inside line this time around, and Behrman does get that position done. Is Russell going to have a little look at Charles Leclerc, though, down towards turn 1? Not this time around. Doesn't have the battery available to him to make that overtaking manoeuvre work. Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc, Russell still our top 4 in that order. Behrman is now up into 5th place. Colapinto down to 6th. Verstappen now looking at the back of the Alpine car. Ocon is now under pressure from Nico Hülkenberg, who's joined this party and managed to displace Pierre Gasly. Lawson and Lindblad also now closing in on the point scoring positions. The midfield is absolute chaos right now. All of those cars jam-packed together. And Gasly has said that there is some moving under braking possibly. I think that's fairly fair from what I can see there. Oh, and I think running me off the road, maybe a little bit of contact actually between Gasly and Verstappen. It'll be interesting to see what they say, as Verstappen has now got himself in front of Franco Colapinto. Behrman in 5th space. Verstappen in 6th, Colapinto 7th. I don't know about you, there's 35 laps left and I'm exhausted. It's absolute chaos here in China. Brilliant racing from this midfield pack. Well, there's been contact there between Verstappen and Gasly a couple of laps ago, but no massive collisions as of no. All of them leaving just enough space for the other cars around them. Russell can't get past with his rocket ship. I don't think the race pace gap between the Ferraris and the Mercedes is that jarring. The qualifying pace, most certainly. I think the race pace is a lot closer. And actually, the hard compound tyre, George Russell was not very happy with getting it up to temperature at the start of this stint. So maybe just trying to keep a little bit more life in these hard compound tyres that he might have scrubbed off at the beginning. Is still fighting for it, though. Hamilton now 1.9 seconds adrift of Antonelli. Then another second or so to Charles Leclerc. Well, he's within a second. He gets the overtake boost to Charles Leclerc. So does George Russell, though, within a second of the car ahead. Then Behrman, after all the battling that he's done, to be fair to him, it's fairly reasonable that he is 13 seconds behind George Russell, but leading that midfield pack in 5th place. Verstappen can't actually catch up with Ollie Behrman. Behrman's disappeared up the road 2 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. Colapinto has got overtake, but Colapinto and Ocon yet to have stopped on their hard compound tyres, where you see Behrman and Verstappen have already pitted. Pierre Gasly is the outlier in there, though. Gasly has pitted and is still stuck behind Ocon and Colapinto, as Behrman and Verstappen have been able to get past those two and disappear up the road a touch. Nico Hülkenberg was putting Gasly under pressure. Gasly has retaken that position, though, back up into ninth place. And Lawson and Lindblad are hoping that this battles can continue as they're closing in on the top 10. Lawson in 11th place has pitted, and Arvid Lindblad in 12th place too. As we now see Lando Norris talking about the McLaren car, frustrated, and the power unit just not playing ball with the two McLaren cars today. Stroll, Piastri, Norris, Bortoletto, and Albon all out of this Grand Prix. And Lando Norris saying his first non-start in Formula One, and as the current world champion as well, it's not a good look for the McLaren team and for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri this weekend. And Lando Norris saying that the car might not even be fixed now. So McLaren team maybe have sort of given up on it this time around and are just packing up the cars ready to go. Oh, as we see Charles Leclerc make a move on Lewis Hamilton, goes up the inside towards turn 14, goes very deep into the braking zone and gets that move done. Charles Leclerc up into second place. Lewis Hamilton, though, under pressure from George Russell as well. Russell's going to be right under the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton having to use that little bit of extra energy and also trying to run back at his teammate. Charles Leclerc up the inside, Hamilton around the outside of turn 1. Are they going to leave space for each other? The Ferraris are dangerously close and they just about get through to turn 4 unscathed. George Russell, though, will be looking at the fact that Lewis Hamilton will get a little bit of an awkward launch out of turn 4 and a possibility of making a move down towards turn 6 as Lewis Hamilton squeezes George Russell to the left-hand side of the track. And George Russell can't get past this time around. It is Leclerc from Hamilton from Russell then in second, third and fourth place. And Kimi Antonelli will be rubbing his hands together because the Ferraris are costing each other time. It's now a 4-second gap that Kimi Antonelli has at the front of this race. And he is flying in that Mercedes car. The Italian, the youngest pole position sitter ever in Formula One history, trying to turn that pole position into his first Grand Prix victory as well. Charles Leclerc, second spot. Lewis Hamilton in third. Will Hamilton come back at his teammate, or is he going to be more worried about George Russell's Mercedes behind? Ollie Behrman in fifth place. Verstappen in sixth. That kind of midfieldy battle has calmed down a touch as Colapinto, Ocon and Gasly have settled into a few more laps in that order. Hülkenberg still inside of the top 10. But as I say, Hülkenberg yet to have pitted. Ocon yet to have pitted. Colapinto yet to have pitted. So they do need to stop at some point unless they're going for a one-stop strategy. They're going to play it around as George Russell has a little look at Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 1. Not this time around. I don't see Antonelli messing this up. Yeah, it's a 5-second gap now. It's got a lovely little bit of clean air to run into. The only thing would be another sort of safety car possibly, or, you know, an incident in the pit stops, maybe a slow stop for Antonelli. It's looking very, very good for the Italian, though. 31 laps left, so don't count your chickens. As George Russell has another little look at Lewis Hamilton, but just agonizingly, Hamilton also has overtake because he's within a second of Charles Leclerc. So a little bit of a pack of 3 here. Behrman and Verstappen have escaped away from the rest of the midfield. Behrman now 2 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen another 2 seconds ahead of Franco Colapinto. Ocon and Gasly within striking range, but Gasly just hasn't quite got the overtaking. And I think it's because Ocon has also got that little boost of energy. Obviously, Ocon Ferrari powered, Gasly Mercedes powered, and we're seeing that the Ferrari can hold its own against the Mercedes engine. Hamilton, slipstream, boost mode activated as well. Overtake, everything going for it as Hamilton has a little look at his teammate down towards turn 14 again. And Hamilton retakes second position from Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc now needs to think about the energy deployment and defending himself against George Russell, or possibly going back at Lewis Hamilton. He tries to go around the outside of turn 1. And Lewis Hamilton then is going to be side by side with Leclerc through turn 2 and turn 3 as well. And Leclerc makes it stick. Charles Leclerc up into second spot. And again, you're rubbing your hands together if you're Kimi Antonelli or an Antonelli fan here. It's another second or two that he's gained. And Hamilton has a look at Leclerc down in towards turn 6. The Ferraris are all over one another. They are not working together even slightly as Hamilton now has a little look through turn 9. They're going side by side through turn 10. They are all over one another, Hamilton and Leclerc, and Hamilton's going to make it stick. Charles Leclerc's going to come back at him. Charles Leclerc's going to lead as they go through and down towards turn 12. Here comes George Russell, though, having a little look. Are they going to have the battery deployment to defend from George Russell here? Are we going to see 3 cars all side by side going down towards the final corner? Hamilton really looking at it. George Russell's going to come to the right-hand side of the track. I think George Russell's going to have the better of Lewis Hamilton here, and Russell's going to get himself into that Ferrari sandwich. George Russell up in between Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton then. So Hamilton does drop out of the podium position, as Antonelli now has a 7-second lead at the front of this race. Charles Leclerc in second, George Russell third, and Hamilton has dropped from starting lap 27 in second place to ending lap 27 in fourth. And Ollie Behrman in fifth spot still. Verstappen, Colapinto, Ocon now looking. And there's a yellow flag. And it's Arvid Lindblad has spun down at turn 14. Can he get that car back going again? He can indeed. So it's just a yellow flag for Lindblad there for a moment. But a little bit of an odd one, because maybe just locked up into turn 14 and lost it all by himself there by the looks of things. Did Arvid Lindblad. Yeah, just completely lost it. Couldn't get the car stopped and then ended up spinning it around. And actually the cars behind did a good job to not slam into the side of Arvid Lindblad as he was facing the wrong direction in turn 14. Antonelli disappears into the distance, but we have George Russell closing in on Charles Leclerc once again. Lewis Hamilton not able to catch up to these two anymore, and George Russell having a look at the outside line. Charles Leclerc covers the inside. Maybe a little switchback for George Russell. Not this time around. George Russell has to stay behind Charles Leclerc for now, but they're going to run down towards turn 1 together. Lewis Hamilton has got the overtake boost of energy as well. Charles Leclerc and George Russell both completely out of battery by the looks of things. And my goodness me, George Russell having a look at Charles Leclerc, but just doesn't quite have the boost to be able to get there. Will have the extra 0.5 megajoules this time around, though. It's a bit weird. It's not quite as powerful, the overtake button, as it was in Australia. Because in Australia, the maximum power that the cars could have on a regular lap was 8 megajoules. So they got 8.5 megajoules if they were within overtake. So obviously that's a pretty substantial boost. What, a 1/16th boost to the power of the car when they're in overtake mode. Now here in China, they're allowed 9 megajoules on a regular lap and therefore 9.5 megajoules on an overtake. So it's only 1/18th boost in terms of the extra power that they get. Talking fractions here, but it does make a difference, and therefore the overtake doesn't quite give you as much energy, but it is easier to harvest that energy here in China, which is why they've got that extra megajoule of energy available to them on a generic lap anyway. George Russell using that boost mode to his advantage now, though. Going down towards turn 14. Takes the inside line this time around. He's learned from Charles Leclerc that maybe that's the best place to be. And Charles Leclerc can't live with George Russell for now. Russell back up into second spot. I have to be a little bit critical of the Ferraris here. They completely cost each other that position there and allowed George Russell the opportunity to close into the back of the two Ferrari cars. If they would have held position, if they'd have maybe worked together a little bit, rather than Hamilton and Leclerc going side by side through turn 14 and turn 1 a couple of laps ago, which I'm not arguing about because it was absolutely brilliant to watch, but it does not play into Ferrari beating George Russell. George Russell now 7.8 seconds adrift of Kimi Antonelli. Esteban Ocon finally comes into the pit, so are we going to see those drivers that didn't pit under the safety car finally have to come in and change their tyres? Colapinto is in 8th spot. He hasn't pitted yet. Hulkenberg is in 9th spot. He hasn't pitted yet. Ocon now dropping down the order after having pitted. Although you would assume he might try and go to the end of the Grand Prix on what I assume are a medium set of tyres going onto Esteban Ocon's car. They are indeed medium tyres on Ocon's car. He's going to fall all the way to the back of the pack. So he's behind Fernando Alonso now, which is quite jarring considering he was in that midfield pack. Colapinto has now moved out of the way of Pierre Gasly as well in that midfield fighting that was happening. Gasly behind Max Verstappen, so Gasly up into 7th place. What happened to the McLaren duo? The cars just did not start. They couldn't get the cars out of the garage, unfortunately. And they ended in the garage. Didn't even get out for the grid walk or the formation lap or anything of that ilk. Colapinto's first points today. He scored points when he was at Williams. First Alpine points, most certainly. Thank you for all of the new subscribers as well. We just had like a boost of new subscribers to the channel. We are trying to hit 200,000 subscribers before the end of the season. So if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're live for every single Grand Prix, along with qualifying, sprint races, and sprint qualifyings throughout the entire season. We cover it all here live for you and give you every single little bit of information that you need. But I really do appreciate it. Also, if you're watching over on the short stream, like, join us on the main stream, man. Like, as much as you get information on the short stream, the main stream is where you want to be. The horizontal full stream. And we're also trying to get our Twitch numbers up because it is impossible to grow on Twitch. So also, if you're watching on YouTube, just open up another tab, open up the Twitch, all right? Have it in the background. You can mute it, but just give the Twitch an extra viewer or two so that we can try and get ourselves up in the Twitch algorithm, because I have no idea how Twitch works and I cannot seem to grow at all over on Twitch. So if you're on Twitch, just have both open. Have the YouTube stream open. Have the Twitch stream open. Enjoy both. Thank you all for so much of your support. And we're into the second half of this Grand Prix. 25 laps left to go. Kimi Antonelli rebuttals. George Russell had set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. That now goes to Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli up into the top of the timing sheets in terms of fastest laps today with a 1:36.1. George Russell 8 seconds adrift. Charles Leclerc now outside of overtake range of George Russell. He's 1.3 seconds behind. Hamilton then 0.6 behind that. Behrman 16 seconds. So it is a big gap still between the top teams and the midfield cars, but I don't mind as long as the racing is as good as it has been in the first half of this Grand Prix. We have seen so much wheel-to-wheel action. It is absolutely brilliant. Behrman, Verstappen, Gasly, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Lawson, still all inside of the point-scoring places. From that pack, though, Colapinto has done 31 laps on his hard compound tyres. Hulkenberg 31 on his as well. And, oh, who was that just came into the pits? I definitely just saw somebody disappear into there. I think it might have been Fernando Alonso into the pits. It was indeed Fernando Alonso into the pits for Aston Martin. Will he come back out again? It's always a question when it comes to the Aston Martin car. Charles Leclerc being told plan C could come into play. So plan A and B, possibly out the window already at Ferrari. Plan C is the one. And are they thinking that maybe this hard compound tyre could go all the way to the end of the Grand Prix? I really hope not. I'd quite like to see a little bit of a swap around and the two-stop strategy be the optimal. But Fernando Alonso is out of the pits once again, so Aston Martin keeping Alonso out on track. Better than what they could do in Australia. So there are positives to come from the Fernando Alonso side of the Aston Martin garage. But he is about to be overtaken by our race leader, Kimi Antonelli, and become the first driver that is lapped during this Chinese Grand Prix. Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas next in line for Kimi Antonelli to make his way past, but they are quite a distance up the road. Antonelli just finishing the middle sector. Bottas and Perez are making their way around turns 14 and 15. And Colapinto has now pitted as well. So Colapinto comes in for Alpine. Is he going to come out ahead of Esteban Ocon is the question. He is going to come out ahead of Esteban Ocon. So Ocon pitted a little bit earlier, but Franco Colapinto has been able to... Oh! And Esteban Ocon and Franco Colapinto, I think, have touched. And Ocon has been sent spinning. And is there going to be a little bit of debris there? Are we possibly going to get another safety car? I hope not. Let's have a little look then. So Colapinto does come out of the pits. He is ahead of Esteban Ocon by a distance, but Ocon obviously coming at him at full speed. Colapinto goes a little bit wide at turn 1. Oh, and there's a... Yeah. Just didn't see him, I don't think. And Colapinto doesn't realise that Esteban Ocon is up alongside him. It's the front left tyre and the rear right tyre of Franco Colapinto that come to blows as Colapinto's trying to make his way around turn 2 and in towards turn 3. And Colapinto and Ocon both collide then, send each other for a spin. Luckily, they have both been able to keep their cars moving. And a lot of the debris coming off Esteban Ocon's car, I think, has gone far enough away from the track that it won't cause any kind of problems. But you can see the barge boards there, and leaning towards the side pod of that Haas is not looking the best condition. Ocon then has dropped behind the two Cadillac cars. Colapinto just ahead of Valtteri Bottas, but quite a distance. And Esteban Ocon on the radio says that it was his fault. So Ocon saying that he probably should have pulled out of that one and decided not to. In other news as well, you know how I said Aston Martin have let Fernando Alonso continue racing? Yeah, they changed their mind. He's back into the pits and he's out of the car and walking through the Aston Martin garage. That is another car out of this Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso joins his teammate Lance Stroll, who came to a stop out on track at turn 1, along with the 4 cars that didn't even start the Grand Prix. Piastri, Norris, Bortoletto and Albon, we didn't even get to see on the grid. As George Russell sets another fast lap for the Grand Prix, a 1:35.8 now for George Russell. And this is the other problem that Ferrari have got now that the now that the Mercedes cars are in clean air. They can just start setting qualifying times. And we know that the qualifying pace of these Mercedes cars is obscene compared to the Ferraris. So Russell is just going to disappear into the distance. And Charles Leclerc now 3 seconds adrift of the man he was battling with just a few laps ago. Hamilton trying to close into the back of his teammate, and the Ferraris have cost one another. And Hamilton saying that he's coming out of the last corner and he's got no power. So Hamilton trying to realign maybe where he's going to use some of his battery and change around where he can press the different boost mode. But Hamilton probably giving it absolutely... Charles Leclerc's gone wide at turn 1. At turn 14, sorry. Turn 14. And that means Hamilton's going to take third. Oh my goodness. What happened to Charles Leclerc there? Went down towards turn 14, made an absolute Pig's ear of it. Went way, way, way too deep. And then Hamilton, from absolutely nowhere, makes his way around, and Charles Leclerc's not living with it. Charles Leclerc decides to come back at him down towards turn 1. The Ferraris realizing now that they're probably fighting for third position at best. Charles Leclerc wants the podium, so does Lewis Hamilton. It will be Hamilton's first podium at Ferrari, but Charles Leclerc realizes he's made the mistake to gift it to him. Hamilton and Leclerc now side by side with one another as we go round to lap 36 of this Grand Prix. My goodness me. My goodness gracious. Nico Hülkenberg has finally pitted for Audi as well. He'd done 35 laps on those hard compound tyres in his Audi car. He'll just be happy that he hasn't DNF'd from this. He's been so unlucky in Australia and in the sprint race, has Nico Hülkenberg, to not really take part. He has now at least done a really solid stint on those hard compound tyres. He's into the pits. He's back out again. And I think he's going to come out around about where Franco Colapinto is. I know, possibly even behind Bottas and Ocon for Nico Hülkenberg. I think it's a little bit of a slow stop for the Audi team. Charles Leclerc then. Looking at the back. Oh my God, it nearly drives into the back of Lewis Hamilton. My goodness me. That would have opened up Ollie Behrman to be in the podium places, by the way, if Ferraris would have wiped each other out there, which Charles Leclerc was doing his best job to do. Charles Leclerc right underneath the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton as they went down to turn 14 and very nearly collected the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton into turn 14. And Esteban Ocon is going to pick up a time penalty there. 10-second time penalty for Esteban Ocon for that incident with Franco Colapinto. If I quickly show you over on the investigations tracker down in the sort of bottom middle of your screens. 10-second time penalty for Esteban Ocon causing a collision with Franco Colapinto. That has been given. And he was seen, well, as he said over the radio, to have been at fault for that one. And Hamilton then running down this back straight ahead of Charles Leclerc. Will Leclerc be right underneath his rear wing again going into turn 14, or has Hamilton got enough in the car to be able to do it? Looking at a third and fourth place finish for Ferrari once more. When do they let these two Ferrari cars just fight all the way to the end? Verstappen still 3 seconds adrift of Behrman. Behrman, absolutely brilliant once again, by the way. I know that we've got a little while to go and something could still go wrong, but the start of the season that Ollie Behrman is having is sublime. Max Verstappen in 6th place. Pierre Gasly, can also give him a lot of praise for today. I know that the Alpine car hasn't quite been there, and in that midfield battle where we did have Gasly and Behrman trying to fight with Ocon and Colapinto, he didn't really come out the best of that bunch, but is still up there in 7th place. And you look at Colapinto and Ocon now down in 12th and 13th, so he is at least inside of the point scoring position still. Liam Lawson's up into 8th place. Kind of underrated, really, really good race from Liam Lawson. Hasn't quite had the pace of, your Behrmans, Verstappens, Gaslys. They are quite a distance up the road, but points again for the RB. After a really good sprint race from Lawson yesterday. Another really good showing here in China. Is under pressure from Isaac Hadjar, though, in 9th place. Hadjar will be so frustrated with still being stuck in 9th, was right in the mix, and then just had that incident at the start of the race where he went super wide, spun himself around, had to pit so early. But then now, I suppose, is going to have... Oh, no, I suppose because of the safety car, he doesn't have any tyre advantage. That kind of wiped the tyre advantage away from him, didn't it? So, unfortunate. That's Isaac Hadjar down in 9th place. Antonelli sets another fast lap here then. Ocon, Bottas, Perez and Hülkenberg still inside of the race, which we haven't talked about. Carlos Sainz actually up in the point scoring positions. I didn't mention in and amongst that. How long has Carlos Sainz been going on those hard compound? Only 28 laps. We could be looking at Carlos Sainz picking up some points here as Nico Hulkenberg makes his way past the Cadillac of Sergio Perez. Lindblad is quite a distance behind, and Lindblad is on 37-lap-old tyres. I think Lindblad and RB maybe just holding out for a possible safety car at some point here, because Lindblad, when he pits, is going to fall all the way backwards. It's not going to be anywhere close. Colapinto on those medium tyres, though. See what lap times he's doing. Carlos Sainz a 138.4. Colapinto a 136.9. It's not horrendous. He is 10 seconds behind Carlos Sainz, though, is Franco Colapinto. It's not outside of the realms of possibilities that Colapinto could maybe catch up to Carlos Sainz here. Carlos Sainz may also have to pit again, depending on the grading on those tyres. Still a long way to go. 18 laps left. Colapinto just needs to be about a second or so a lap quicker. And here comes Charles Leclerc on Lewis Hamilton once again. They're side by side going in towards turn 14. Charles Leclerc takes to the inside line. Hamilton around the outside. Hamilton tries the little switchback as they go through turn 14 together. Not working this time around. If you got the inside line, it does feel like the better of the two choices in these new era cars. The switchback doesn't quite have the ability. But Hamilton is coming back at him at turn 1. Hamilton's going to try and go up the inside of turn 1 and keep it stuck there through turn 2. A little squirm from Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari as he does make it stick. Maybe using a little bit of that battery power. Charles Leclerc, though, launching out of turn 4. Is he going to have a run at Lewis Hamilton towards turn 6? It does just feel like this is all going to end in tears at some point for the Ferrari fans, doesn't it? Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton side by side through turn 6 again. Hamilton comes out at the moment ahead of the two. Charles Leclerc, though, right underneath the rear wing of Hamilton as they make their way through turn 7 and 8. And Charles Leclerc is going to be right up there with him as they go down this back straight once again. Maybe even might have a look at going at Lewis Hamilton into turn 11. Hamilton's got that little bit more battery power available to him, but Charles Leclerc is also going to have the slipstream of Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 14 as well. It's going to be very, very tight between the two Ferraris once again as they come around turn 13 here. Charles Leclerc looking at the back of Lewis Hamilton's car. Both of them deploying as much battery as humanly possible. Hamilton would have been behind Charles Leclerc, of course, in the overtake mode. So actually, Hamilton does have the extra boost through the overtake. So that actually helps him in defense here of Charles Leclerc. And that's going to swap around as they make their way through the detection point, which is just here as they go past turn 16. So Charles Leclerc is now going to have the overtake available to him. Let's see what Charles Leclerc can do this time around. And Charles Leclerc actually using a little bit of that overtake to close in as they go through turn 1. Here we are then. Just keeping an eye on the Colapinto Sainz gap, because I think that could be an interesting one for the final point scoring position. Colapinto now 2.3 seconds behind Lindblad. Lindblad 6 seconds behind Sainz. It was a 137.2 from Colapinto last time around to a 138.5 from Sainz. So he is again just closing in by over a second, Colapinto on Sainz. Keep an eye on that one. Around about lap 50, that could get to be a very little tasty battle. Colapinto does have to get past Lindblad in that. But I'm assuming the 7-lap-old medium tyres are going to be way better off the corners than the 40-lap-old hard compound tyres that Lindblad is currently running around with. Charles Leclerc. That is actually quite a fun battle. Charles Leclerc enjoying the afternoon in China, even if he has dropped outside of the podium places for now. Closes into the back of Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 14. Not quite there at the moment. Hamilton and Leclerc now realizing that they have got absolutely no hope of catching the two Mercedes cars in front. Antonelli is 6.5 seconds ahead of Russell. Russell then 13.3 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. When you give the Mercedes cars space and you give the Mercedes cars clean air to run into, they do just seem to be on an absolutely different level. It's why they're ahead in qualifying, right? It's the difference between the two. We saw when George Russell is in the pack with the rest of the cars, when he was behind Hamilton and Leclerc, he was struggling. He didn't quite have it, but the squabbling between Hamilton and Leclerc gave George Russell the opportunity to dispose of one of them. And then as soon as he was in the middle of that sandwich, he was always going to have the opportunity to get in front of the one in front as well. So Ferrari can kind of only blame themselves that George Russell has been able to get ahead. But once you get the Mercedes car in clean air, it does absolutely rocket its way into the distance. Hamilton is actually disappearing up the road from Charles Leclerc at this point. And Hamilton being told on the radio to try and keep this gap if you can. Hülkenberg now looking at an overtake on Ocon. And actually, Kimi Antonelli also making his way past some backmarker cars too. George Russell getting past Sergio Perez, and the man he replaced at Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas, also shuffling out of the way of the current World Championship leader, George Russell. Hamilton and Leclerc coming down towards turn 14. Leclerc not within overtake, though. Leclerc just falling a little bit further behind Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari car. Hülkenberg having a little look at Esteban Ocon for 13th place. Colapinto has been able to dispose of Arvid Lindblad, by the way, has moved up into 11th spot and is 6.7 seconds adrift of Carlos Sainz. So if you're a Williams fan and you're hoping for that final point scoring position to go to Carlos Sainz, it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight indeed, and he is going to be under pressure from a very fast-moving Franco Colapinto. Within, I'm going to say, around lap 50, we're going to see Franco Colapinto properly under the rear wing of the Williams car ahead of him. As long as he can hold on to those mediums. The mediums, though, the graining needs to be careful. The cars have settled in a touch here, which I think is fair. You know, a few people in the chat now saying that the race has become boring. Did you see the first 35 laps? They were obscene. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. I think you're allowed a few laps here and there throughout a race. It's not going to be back and forth every single lap throughout a Grand Prix. If you're hoping for that, you need to go and watch Mario Kart, because it's just not going to happen here. There's no blue shells that suddenly Lewis Hamilton can start throwing at Kimi Antonelli. And here we go then. Arvid Lindblad wasn't able to go to the end on those tyres. I did think it was going to be absolutely mental if he did. Had he pitted already? No, he hadn't pitted already. That's why he definitely couldn't go to the end on those tyres. Literally not allowed within the regulations. Arvid Lindblad does finally pit, though. Medium compound tyres go onto Arvid Lindblad's car, but he's in a bit of a no man's land. He's going to come out between the two Cadillacs and quite far adrift of sort of Ocon and Hülkenberg and Colapinto ahead of him. So Lindblad not looking like points are on the cards here, as we haven't really caught up with Behrman, Verstappen and Gasly in a little while. They've kind of just settled into 5th, 6th and 7th. Couple of seconds between each of them. Behrman just putting in some really solid kind of midfield time laps. You know, they're not up there with the Antonelli and Russell qualifying laps that we're seeing right now, but Behrman putting in those 137s and just keeping himself exactly that 2-second gap ahead of Max Verstappen. It was 137.2 from Behrman, a 137.1 from Verstappen, 136.8 from Pierre Gasly. But again, just that 2-second gap seems to be where all of those cars have kind of settled into. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a push from them towards the end. They are all on the exact same tyre strategy too. I think Verstappen came in a lap earlier than Behrman and Gasly. So they're all on 33, 34 lap old hard compound tyres and all within sort of touching distance of one another. Lawson is up in P8. As I say, really good drive from Liam Lawson. Just kind of in a bit of a a pressure zone from Isaac Hadjar behind, but Hadjar hasn't quite been able to get past the Racing Bulls car. And Liam Lawson with another really good performance in China. Just seems to be a good weekend for him. Points yesterday in the sprint, came from P13 to score points in the sprint yesterday, and has come all the way from, where did he start? P16? No, P15, 14? P14, I think, all the way up to P8 for Liam Lawson, up into the points again. Feel like Mercedes has to be cheating? I don't think so. I think their car is just so good when it's in clean air. Like, they've clearly got something aerodynamically, or maybe even the engine. Maybe the engine sort of needs that clean air and needs to be a slightly cooler temperature, possibly. I don't know what it is, but as soon as they get into clean air, they are a level above the rest. But when they're in the mix, the Ferraris can live with them. Just about. So as soon as the Ferraris then let them go, they just go. Kimi Antonelli comes across the start-finish line, starts lap 46 of this Grand Prix. 11 laps left to go, and it's looking a very, very comfortable. Oh, as Max Verstappen's going slow, Max, let's retire the car. It's going to be a retirement for Max Verstappen, and he's going to come to a stop. Is he going to get the car back to the... He needs to get the car home. Otherwise, we could see a safety car here. He is currently going around turn 11, turn 12 very, very, very slowly. As Lawson and Hadjar make their way past. It's awkward, isn't it? The number 1 Red Bull driver being overtaken by the number 2 in Isaac Hadjar, and the man who wasn't good enough to be number 2, Liam Lawson, just make their way past in 7th and 8th place. And Max Verstappen, definitely an issue inside of that Red Bull car. Is able to drive it home, though, so unlikely that we'll get any kind of safety car or anything like that. That does, though, mean Carlos Sainz is pretty much guaranteed to get some points here, because I don't think Nico Hülkenberg has been able to catch Carlos Sainz. I do think Colapinto will be able to overtake Sainz for 9th place. But that only slots Carlos Sainz into 10th, and last time I checked, 10th place still means you get a point. So we could see Carlos Sainz and Williams, despite being absolutely atrocious, just by sort of making sure you take part, they could get themselves another point. Here's the onboard from Max Verstappen. What happened here then? Down towards turn 6. Sounds fine, sounds fine. Doesn't sound fine. Yep. The whole dashboard's turned off as well. Like, you can't even see the lights flicker. Oh, then it comes back on again. I think he's trying to save it, but I think that is going to be terminal for Max Verstappen, and he joins the scrap heap that we've got in the pits this weekend. Verstappen now joins Alonso and Stroll, Piastri, Norris, Bortoleto, and Albon as drivers who are no longer in this Grand Prix. I suppose Piastri, Norris, Bortoleto, and Albon didn't even start, so Verstappen, Alonso, and Stroll, the drivers that actually have done some laps and come to a stop. But 7 drivers out of this Grand Prix. And Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas will be thinking, just a few more DNFs. Maybe we've got ourselves a point for Cadillac. Would be absolutely mental if that did happen. Especially as, you know, we were looking at maybe Hamilton and Leclerc possibly having a little bump with one another. Hamilton and Leclerc now, a little gap separates them, 3.3 seconds between the two Ferraris. Russell's in a complete no man's land. Same with Kimi Antonelli, just completely by himself at the front. Behrman's still got a 3-second gap to Gasly. Obviously, Verstappen was between those two, has now disappeared. Lawson is then 16 seconds adrift. So Lawson versus Hadjar is the final battle to really play out at this point, you would say. And Colapinto closing into the back of Carlos Sainz. And I think I might be in the right prediction realm here, with Colapinto possibly catching Carlos Sainz by lap 50. We're on lap 48. Colapinto's 2.6 seconds behind. It was a 1:38 dead from Carlos Sainz last time around, and a 1:37.1 from Colapinto. But that was Carlos Sainz's best lap of the race so far. So Carlos Sainz is turning up the heat a little bit as Esteban Ocon comes into the pits for another time. Oscar Piastri talking about how it's been a long time since he's watched Formula One from the sidelines, and clearly, obviously, would much rather be involved and out on track here this afternoon, but just was not meant to be for the two McLaren cars. Esteban Ocon coming in, serving his penalty, and also making a little change possibly to the balance of the front wing there, because obviously got a little bit of damage to that barge board, and there were a few bits and pieces kind of sticking out of that Haas car that maybe Esteban Ocon didn't want sticking out of that Haas car. Oh my goodness, we're on 36 viewers over on Twitch. We're absolutely flying there today, and a couple of subs over on Twitch as well. Apologies, I need to set it up so I can see subs as they come through. Thank you for all of the subscriptions and all of the followers over on Twitch as well. If you are watching on the YouTube stream and you haven't followed over on Twitch, please do. Like, it really does help out the channel. Massively helps out me as well. We're trying to grow over on Twitch as well, because I'd like to do some gaming bits and pieces, but I feel like we have to do those over on Twitch as well, and possibly not Formula One related. So I'd really love to grow the Twitch community too. And if you're watching on the short stream, join us on the main stream. The main stream is where it is at. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And thank you all for watching once more. Ollie Behrman, the man of the moment in the midfield. It's going to be best of the rest once again, is Ollie Behrman. He's up in 5th place. 3.6 seconds the gap to Gasly, and Gasly's not catching him anytime soon. It's a personal best lap from Ollie Behrman last time around, a 136.8 and a 137.5 from Pierre Gasly. So 0.7 of a second Behrman had on the Alpine behind him. Lawson down in 7th. Hadjar is falling away from the back of the RB, so it does look like Lawson's going to finish 7th and Hadjar in 8th spot. And then we're a lap away from when I said Franco Colapinto would be within overtake distance of Carlos Sainz, and he's 1.7 seconds behind. I just quite like that prediction to come true. Makes me feel like a little savant. I'm a medium, not a large. Carlos Sainz coming around the final corner, crossing the start finish line. Let's see where Colapinto is. Still 1.699 as they came through the last detection point. So needs to close in by just over 7/10, or just under, 7/10 of a second to be within overtake distance of Carlos Sainz's Williams. I don't know if Carlos Sainz will put up too much of a fight. It is still a point for Williams, and at this sort of juncture of the season where they've had an absolutely horrendous start to the year, I think you just kind of take a point if you're Carlos Sainz, rather than trying to fight for 2. Especially because Colapinto's on the medium tyre. Those medium tyres have now done 16 laps, though, on Colapinto's car. Carlos Sainz, 39 laps on those hard compound tyres. It's a shame that these hard compound tyres do just seem to last the distance. I was really hoping for a 2-stop strategy, especially because everyone pitted a little bit early because of the safety car. We're expecting most teams to pit around the sort of 15 to 20 lap period. Instead, they all pitted around lap 10, 11. Because of that safety car from Lance Stroll. But even so, the hard compound tyres still going all the way to the end for the likes of Antonelli, Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc, Behrman, Gasly, Lawson, Hadjar. I mean, all of them. Everyone in the top 9 has pitted under the safety car. Only Colapinto inside of the point scoring positions didn't pit under safety car conditions, and that's because he started on the hard compound tyre. Antonelli is actually going to cause Colapinto a little bit of a headache there. Yeah, I didn't realize Antonelli catching up to Franco Colapinto. Colapinto's going to have to move out of the way because of the blue flags. But then so is Carlos Sainz. So it's going to cost Colapinto a lap or so. Antonelli's killing the GP. Antonelli dominance will bore fans. He has absolutely disappeared up the road since that safety car restart. And as soon as he was in the clean air, he just did exactly what he needed to do. And flown past everybody. And is now making his way through the midfield again. Carlos Sainz, the next car on the list to be lapped. And Antonelli just making his way behind the Williams car as they make their way through turn 9 and turn 10. Antonelli does indeed move past Carlos Sainz with the blue flags. And the current vote split for driver of the day, Kimi Antonelli, 22%, Hamilton 19%, Franco Colapinto on 10%. You know what? I'll give him an extra few percentage points if he can get past Carlos Sainz here. He is 1.4 seconds adrift of Carlos Sainz. Should be able to get past that Williams in the Alpine in the last 5 laps of this Grand Prix. Kimi's going to lap himself. He is absolutely staunching his way through the midfield, isn't he? I don't think he'll lap any more cars. Hadjar is quite a distance up the road now. We've only got 5 laps left of this Chinese Grand Prix. And I'll tell you what, the Australian Grand Prix was good. This Grand Prix has been absolutely brilliant. I will not have any people say that Formula 1 is boring nowadays. It was so back and forth at the beginning between the top 4 teams. Then we had a brilliant battle in the midfield with both Haas's, both Alpines, and suddenly Max Verstappen in and amongst the craziness there as well. I think this race has had a little bit of everything. It's had changes for the lead. It's had Antonelli then driving away from a safety car restart where he was under pressure from the Ferraris behind. Like, it's had everything for me. Had every single thing. Colapinto, 1.2 seconds from Carlos Sainz. It's the only real battle we've got left to run. Unless you're just looking at who can set the fastest lap, which is currently Kimi Antonelli with a 1:35.2. Antonelli's middle sector has just been the fastest of anybody, though, in the middle part of the lap. Here we go, then. Colapinto and Sainz now able to battle as Antonelli has moved past both as Charles Leclerc locks up. Oof. He has put those tyres through their paces today as Charles Leclerc. Every time he goes down towards turn 14, he absolutely goes for it, does the Ferrari Charles Leclerc, knowing that a podium is on the line. But it does look like Lewis Hamilton is going to be on the podium for the first time in a Ferrari car. And it was always going to be China, wasn't it? He won the sprint race here last year in a Ferrari. He's won the Chinese Grand Prix 6 times throughout his Formula 1 career. And Lewis Hamilton looking like he's going to take another trophy home to add to the ridiculous amount of trophies he already has. Antonelli still leading this Grand Prix, though, from George Russell, his teammate, 9.4 seconds behind. Hamilton third, as we just mentioned. Charles Leclerc in 4th spot. Ollie Behrman 5th. Gasly 6th. Lawson 7th. Hadjar 8th. Carlos Sainz currently in 9th place. But Colapinto is now within that 1 second margin. Let's see what you got then inside of that Alpine car, Franco. Or was it just the one-stop strategy going medium onto hard that you should have been on? I mean, you look at everyone else in front of you. Probably is the one you should have been on. But Colapinto has the opportunity to at least displace one of the drivers that pitted under the safety car where he could not. Hulkenberg then in 11th place as well. Kimi Antonelli's gone off. Oh, goodness. Kimi, man. He's gone deep in turn 14. He's okay. He's back out. He's on track. He lost a couple of seconds there. Maybe just a little lapse in concentration from Kimi Antonelli. He was going down the back straight towards turn 14. Locks his front right. And the Chinese crowd give a little... Oh my goodness, Kimi. Okay. Now 7.3 seconds, the gap between Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. He is okay. And Bono on the radio just gives it the... Kimi. 3 laps left to go. Let's just get the car home, shall we? Shall we just have a moment? Ooh. Okay. I was going to say Kimi Antonelli's been flawless. The slightest flaw there. Luckily, he was 10 seconds ahead of his teammates, so he had a few seconds to play with. But my goodness me. Bono will now be on the radio, just giving him that little bit of a calm down. Colapinto right underneath the rear wing of Carlos Sainz now, but unfortunately George Russell's going to get some blue flags here for Colapinto and Sainz. So Colapinto's going to have to wait another lap before he's really going to get the chance to run at Carlos Sainz, I think, because he's going to have to move out of the way of George Russell here as they go down the back straight. And there you go. Kimi Antonelli through turn 14 this time around, unscathed. 2 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Just got to do it twice more, Kimi. You've done it 54 times. 54 times. 2 more. 2 more, and you'll get your first Grand Prix victory. You've done so many laps in Formula 1. You did a whole season last year. You can do it. Please promote Max to V-Carb. Jeez Louise. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Colapinto now back behind Carlos Sainz once again. George Russell has gotten past Carlos Sainz as they made their way through the first sector. That is going to go right to the end of this Grand Prix then. Colapinto now finally can actually have a run at Carlos Sainz without a Mercedes car having to be let through with some blue flags. So Colapinto can overtake. 21 laps on those medium compound tyres for Franco Colapinto. 44 laps on the hard compound tyres that Carlos Sainz finds himself on. Ooh. Colapinto looking at Carlos Sainz. The difference between 2 points and 1 at this moment in time, thanks to Max Verstappen dropping out of this race, does mean that now Sainz and Colapinto both pretty much guaranteed points, as long as they don't do anything too silly, as Kimi Antonelli comes across the start-finish line for the penultimate time. It's the final lap of this Chinese Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli coming around turn 1. The youngest ever pole position sitter in Formula 1 history yesterday. And now he's going to turn that into his first victory in Formula 1. I said at the top of the race, I thought it was going to be tricky for him. He's actually made it look easy. Got himself into the lead, then the safety car restart, kept himself there, has done everything perfectly, other than a little lock-up into turn 14, but it was only a couple of seconds between friends that Kimi Antonelli lost. George Russell more than enough distance behind for Antonelli to hold on to this lead of the Grand Prix. Makes his way through the second sector for the final time. He's got 1 more sector, 6 more corners between him and the first win in a Grand Prix. Colapinto and Carlos Sainz are right side by side with one another. I think Colapinto's going to have a go down towards turn 14. I'll keep an eye on it as we also watch Kimi Antonelli down the back straight. 3 more corners. Little bit of a lock-up for him. Couple of laps ago. It's perfect this time around. Smooth sailing for Kimi Antonelli as he goes around in a little bit of a drift as he comes away, sliding through turn 14 and 15. Round turn 16 he comes, and a weave across the line for Kimi Antonelli, who takes his first win in Formula 1. The first Italian driver to win since 2006 in Formula 1. It's been 20 years. He wasn't even born when the last Italian driver stood on the top step of the podium, but he does it this time around. It is Kimi Antonelli who takes the checkered flag from George Russell in second place. Hamilton and Leclerc will join them as they cross the finish line. Hamilton's first podium for Ferrari, and a well-deserved podium at that. He really did have to fight through to get that podium. Charles Leclerc gave him a good run for his money in the other Ferrari car. Finishes in 4th spot. Ollie Behrman now making his way around the final couple of corners. Bottas going slowly, but Behrman will be able to deal with that. And Ollie Behrman, another best of the rest finish in his Haas car. I know that the Haas car looks pretty good, but Behrman is absolutely flying inside of it. Pierre Gasly started P6, finishes P6 as well. Oh no, sorry, started P5. Sorry, Gasly. Started P7, technically. No, did start P6. Started P6. Started P7. I've lost it. I've been up since 3 a.m. Gasly finishes the race inside of the points. He finishes P6. Lawson takes the checkered flag for 7th place. Isaac Hadjar is actually going to be the last man across the finish line because everybody else has been lapped. Isaac Hadjar finishes in 8th place. Carlos Sainz 9th and Colapinto in 10th spot. Shall we have a very, very swift look at the championship board then? As I load it up for you. Let's have a little look at where everybody slots into the championship after 2 rounds of the 2026 season. I've lost it. Window capture. There we go. George Russell given a little bit of praise by the team, and I think deservedly so. Good race from him. Make sure all 22 drivers are on there for you. So we do have George Russell leading the championship. 51 points. He has a 3-point gap to Kimi Antonelli, who now sits in 2nd place as Mercedes take a commanding lead in the Constructors' Championship. 98 points for the Mercedes duo already. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton sit just behind. Leclerc on 34, Hamilton on 33. So the Ferraris within a point of one another going into the Japanese Grand Prix weekend in a couple of weeks' time. That puts Ferrari also 2nd in the Constructor standings. Ollie Behrman sits in 5th place in the driver standings. And this is what I mean by the fact that Ollie Behrman has been brilliant. Yes, I know that the 2 McLaren cars didn't take part this afternoon in China, but 17 points on the board for Ollie Behrman already. He's put Haas 4th in the constructor standings at this point in the season. Are they going to finish there? Probably not. Will they need those 17 points? Absolutely. Behrman has been brilliant. Lando Norris drops to 6th place in the driver's standings, though McLaren still maintain themselves at 3rd best in the constructor standings. Pierre Gasly jumps up 5 positions. The 8 points for him now put him on 9 for the season. That's the 7th best and ahead of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Only 8 points so far this season for Max Verstappen. He dropped out of this Grand Prix and is in 8th place in the standings. It's then the 2 RBs inside of the top 10. Liam Lawson on 8 points as well in 9th spot in the standings. And Arvid Lindblad, his 4 points from last time around, gets him 10th place for now. Isaac Hadjar's 4 points from this afternoon mean that Red Bull and Racing Bulls are on the same points. 12 points for Red Bull, 12 points for Racing Bulls so far this season after 2 Grand Prix and a sprint race. Pierre Gasly's points for Alpine have put them 7th in the constructor standings. And then we can run down. Piastri has 3 points. Carlos Sainz gets a couple of points this afternoon, puts himself 13th. Bortoletto, his couple of points from last weekend, putting him 14th. Colapinto with the final point this afternoon puts him 15th. Ocon, Hulkenberg, Albon, Bottas, Perez, Alonso and Stroll yet to score points this season. Audi dropped down to 8th place in the constructor standings. Williams are in 9th place. And then finally Cadillac and Aston Martin, the 2 teams yet to score points this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will let you watch Kimi Antonelli on the podium and just sink into it. My goodness, drink it in, Kimi Antonelli. A more than deserved victory. A pole position yesterday at the Chinese Grand Prix and now a win in Formula One. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all of the subscribers to the channel today. Thank you for all the Twitch followers as well. The Twitch really did fly up a few followers and in terms of viewers as well. Thank you all for watching over on Twitch too. And I will see you all in 2 weeks' time for the Japanese Grand Prix. And if it's anything like today, I want it to be tomorrow. I cannot wait for the Japanese Grand Prix. It is going to be sublime. I will see you there. Enjoy.